this is Yua from Yua's Memoir on YouTube. I just wanted to do a little quick update on my life and my nursing journey and how it's been. I know I have a couple of messages that's been asking me on what I think about my school, the school that I went to, what it entails, and how my experience is. So I will just kind of talk a little bit about that. In addition to that, I'm going to talk about my struggles with finding a job, and then what's in for me, what kind of job did I apply for, and what I think about it, and any job offers that I've declined. So it'll be everything from since I started my MSN program to right now. So the school that I went to is in my local hometown. It's a Master's of Science nursing degree, and that's for a Family Nurse Practitioner. When I first applied to this school, it was 2021. I was working at a primary care clinic. They didn't allow the flexibility for me to go to school during that time. I decided to defer entering the program twice, which pushed it back for a whole year. So for me, it was a struggle trying to find a job, a full-time job especially, that will accommodate my school schedule. I did eventually leave that primary care setting and went to a day center. And that day center had plans for me to become the program director there. However, things didn't work out, so I did end up leaving that job, and now I am currently a hospice nurse. So for those that ask how my program was, I can tell you straight off that it's very dysfunctional and disorganized.
First off, I got into a cohort that had their own little cliques, and nobody really, not that we didn't get along, but nobody really wanted to help each other out.
At the beginning, it did seem like we were getting along and things like that, but there was also 4 particular Indian girls that had their own clique. Whatever they do, they can help out each other, which is fine, because that does tend to happen a lot. And then there's also a white girl that was the Karen of our class. She made things pretty difficult just because she wants a lot of things her way, and when she doesn't get things her way, then she'll go straight up to our director in the nursing program. Also, there was a privilege that she does have being our class representative, so she got a lot of things her way.
In addition to that, the faculty staff lacked communication with us, and they did not communicate the things that we needed to know. For example, class would be starting next week, and then we would have no answer about the times we're meeting, who our teacher is, the syllabus or the class is not available for us to view. We don't know which textbook we're supposed to get. So there was just a lot of lack of communication and professionalism.
So it was very difficult. I did wanted to switch school at many times during the whole program.
But it was too much work for me to transfer all my credits, to send my transcripts, and apply to the other schools. So it was just too much work for me. So I kind of told myself, let me just kind of suck it up and try to finish this program, just because, if I do switch school, then I'm going to be delayed again, and I didn't want that to happen. I ended up finishing the program, and I did not walk or attend the graduation ceremony just because I was so bitter about the lack of professionalism from the faculty at my school. So I didn't want to participate, and that was fine too, just because they actually decreased the amount of graduation per year. So instead of having winter and spring ceremonies, they are now condensing it to spring. And since we graduated or finished the program in winter, I didn't feel like going to the graduation ceremony 5 months later. That was just, for me, the excitement was already all gone, and I was going to have my graduation party in March anyways. So I figured my party was going to be more important than walking at the graduation ceremony. So I started my program in 2023 at the very beginning, and I just graduated in December 24. I eventually took the board exam, AANP, and passed it last month. And I have continuously been trying to find a job since December, which is when I graduated. So it was really hard to find a job without the board certification first, because a lot of jobs want to make sure that you do get your board exam done and you get your certification before they hire you. So from May until now, I've been applying to a lot of jobs, and you can say that I've applied to 10 plus jobs, whether it's Indeed, straight on the company website, or LinkedIn. So I did apply to a lot of jobs. I got quite a lot of interviews, but it just didn't really go as planned. One of the company that I did apply for and got an interview was, let me just call this company A. So A requires some traveling, and that is okay with me because right now with my current hospice job, I am traveling to patients' houses and providing care. However, with this company A, they do have a lot of benefits and they do pay quite well. They did not give me an offer yet because they were waiting for me to get my board exam done. So within a month after I interviewed with them, they actually let me go and told me that they had another candidate for that job at that time. And I was pretty devastated because I wouldn't be able to take the exam for another 2 months. And mind you, when I interviewed with them, it was in March. So I did lose out on that opportunity, but for me, it was okay just because I knew that something better was gonna come along. The second company was owned by a couple. They do have two companies. One is a mobile wound care and the other one was a pain clinic. And so they needed a nurse practitioner that will be able to take on the mobile wound care. I did eventually talk with both of them, and it lasted for 2 hours, and there was just too many red flags. First off, just how they kind of projected themselves to be the only healer was just kind of bizarre to me. Me as a person that has worked in the medical field for a long time, I believe that if me as a provider, if I cannot treat some of your conditions or problems, I would advise you to go to another physician or provider that can treat your problems for you. For example, if I was in primary care, I know I cannot treat your heart problems. So it'll be better for you to go see a cardiologist where they can treat your heart problems. For this couple, they were just all about natural, holistic medicine practices, and they believe they can pretty much cure everything. And to me, I have a problem with that just because I know that practicing medicine is really a work of art, and some things may work for you, but there's some things that may not work for you. And so you do need a collaborative team of medical professionals that will be able to help you get through your medical conditions or just your health problems. There's a lot more red flags about this couple too. Also, the husband, he was bashing a lot on one of their medical assistants that did end up leaving their company, and he was talking down on that medical assistant the whole time. The husband was telling me that the medical assistant left them for a place that offered her $1 more, and he could have eventually given her $5 if she communicated with him. But the whole time he was just bashing her, and to me that was a red flag because I know that a lot of employers, they don't want you to bash on your old employers because in the future, you're possibly going to do that to them too. However, I see it as both ways, you know. If you're an employer and you're bashing on your old employees, you know, I can only imagine what you can do to your future employees as well. I don't want any problems. I've been at so many toxic workplaces, so I just didn't want to get into another toxic environment like that. Especially the last place that I was at prior to my hospice job right now was a family company, and it was just very toxic where I needed to leave. Another company that I also applied for was also a primary care setting. It is very much similar to one of my old jobs, and for me, I didn't want to take that job just because I feel like the pay was roughly still low in my area, and they're gonna require me to be on call at least, I believe, 1 or 2 times a month. But you know, they usually tell you something, but usually things will end up being different. And they're gonna require me to travel down south 45 minutes a couple of times a month. So that was just a little bit too much for me. And when I was there, it was just so overwhelming. I felt like I would not be able to function being there just because I've been at another job that is similar to their company. So I didn't feel like I want to get into that setting again. Another company that I applied for an interview with it starts with a T. And I did interview with the CEO. He's also a nurse practitioner, and it seems like he knows what he's doing. When I actually met with him, he wanted me to go shadow another nurse practitioner that was in my local area. And for me, I was debating if I wanted to shadow that nurse practitioner, just because, you know, I was still working Monday to Friday, and it was too much for me to kind of take time out to go shadow that nurse practitioner if I was not going to go far. For example, if the compensation was not very good. However, Monday came and I did eventually meet up with that nurse practitioner and shadowed her for 1 hour. I kind of regret not asking her for the salary that she was given, just because, you know, it's my first time meeting her and I didn't want to get too personal, so I didn't ask. But I feel like I should have asked her during that time because she seemed to be pretty open to. After my shadowing with her, they want me to also interview with another lead nurse practitioner. And so at that point, I was like, wait, this is too many steps. First, I already interviewed with the CEO. Second, I already shadowed with the nurse. And then third, you know what? Well, actually, one of the first steps that I actually did before interviewing with the CEO is actually a 30-minute phone screening with a recruiter. So after that, I interview with the CEO, which is step number 2. Step number 3, I shadow with the nurse practitioner. And step number 4, they want me to interview with the nurse practitioner lead. So at that point, there's already 4 steps, and I feel like it was too much. To me, I feel like if I was not going to be compensated well, I didn't want to waste my time any further. However, I did tell myself that, you know, what do I have to lose? It'll be nice to kind of get interviews in so I can get more experience in interviewing for a nurse practitioner job. So I did interview with her, and then of course she does like me too, and it got pushed to step number 5, which is negotiating with the CEO. And I thought it was going to be a professional negotiation where he was going to send me an offer letter and tell me how much they were willing to pay me. However, it ended up being another 30 or so minute conversation with the CEO. And at this point, it seems like he got a little bit more pushy. So the nurse that I shadowed, he started her off at $70 an hour, and to me it was low. I know it may seem high for a lot of people, but within locally, a lot of new grads are already getting it 77 to 80 and up. So to me, it was just so low. So he did talk with me, and he seemed to dismiss all of the things that I have inquired about and the questions that I have. For example, I told him that the job posting that I applied for, they were paying $160,000 to $180,000. However, what he's offering me is about $145,000. He did end up dismissing my question and said that the position I applied for was probably for the town that was 45 minutes down south of me. And I told him no, the job position was actually for my town as well as that other town, and for some home visits. And he continues saying that, oh, there's many opportunities for me to get more money if I'm willing to travel to the Bay Area, or if I wanted to go out of the state, which was a red flag for me. I just feel like the pay was very low, and on top of that, there was a few benefits too, but it was not as much as what I wanted. So I end up declining that job. So right after I passed my board exam, I actually called an urgent care that I did interviewed with before. However, I think that she had a lot of applicants at that time, so she did not call me back. I also did not get my board certification at that time, so she didn't call me, and that was in April. So after I got my board certification, I did call her, and I told her that I did apply there before and if she was still hiring for a nurse practitioner. She did tell me that she was looking for a full-time nurse practitioner at the urgent care, and that for me to go in and do another interview with her. So we set up the date, and I did go interview with her, and at first she seemed to be a very lovely lady. You know, she said that she had plans to expand the urgent care, and there was quite a lot of population that she noticed that was not coming to the urgent care, and particularly it's the Asian population. So I did tell her a little bit of what I think and what I know, because a lot of Asian population, they don't know what urgent care is. Usually when they do have any kind of medical problems, they usually go to the primary care doctor or go to the emergency room. And I did tell her that I did have a background in community outreach. Therefore, she was very happy and she wanted to bring me along with her team. She negotiated with me right then, right there, and she did offer me $80 an hour. However, to me, that was very low for urgent care. Just because, you know, she does want me to see a lot of patients, and being full-time, I would have to work 12-hour shifts, and that was just way too much for me. She does have a lot of part-timers and per diem people, but they will be working 8 to 10-hour shifts, and if they do stay over 8 hours, they do get overtime. So I feel like it was not a good compensation for me. So I did ask her for $90 an hour. She did eventually told me that she will start me at $85, and after 3 months, after I finish my DOT training, which is a Department of Transportation certification, then she will give me $90 an hour. I was ecstatic, and I told her yes, I would be able to do that. She eventually gave me a hug twice and shook my hands and sent me on my way. However, I feel like during the 3 weeks that was in between the time that I interviewed with her until the time that I was supposed to start with her, there wasn't much assistance in the things that she required me to do, and there was a lot of questions that was left unanswered, or she will read my text messages and just leave me on read. So I just feel like she could be a snake, and I did eventually get the answer from one of my classmates that was already working there. My classmate was part-time there and told me about some of the problems that was occurring at the urgent care. I just feel like I didn't want to go back into a toxic environment. I know some people will say that, oh, all workplaces have red flags. I wanted to look up what her certification or background is. So one day I decided to just search up her name and found that she had 2 current lawsuits against 2 separate entities. And so to me, that was just a major red flag. I just feel like she's somebody that can be very sweet to you and like you when she really like you. But if you end up giving her any kind of trouble, or if you ask a little bit too much, then she will sue you. So I just didn't want to get involved with those type of people. So it was quite a hard pill for me to swallow, knowing that even though she is paying me well, that I will potentially get involved in some kind of problems with either her or the company. Plus, there's just a lot of toxicity within the environment and the staff itself, and I just feel like that's not something that I was willing to risk my emotional well-being for. So I did have to let go of that urgent care just because I was supposed to meet with the human resource on a Thursday, and I was not going to get an answer by Friday from the company team. But when Friday came, I was only offered $145K with the company T. I decided to also let that one go. So that Friday was a bummer for me because I let 2 potential jobs go. I did get a phone call from a recruiter from another new company, and let's call that company S. Company S is a big corporation, and they also do in-home assessments. So it's very similar with all the other traveling jobs that I've been applying for. So when I spoke with the recruiter, she did tell me that they start at $124,000. Base pay for 70 assessments per month. And to me, I was like, wait, that is way too low because I'm already making $122K, right? But she did tell me that after the 70th assessment per month, then I will get a bonus of $110 for every assessment above 70 patients per month. I know that sounds very confusing, but I did eventually do some math and figured out that I will be getting potentially $176,000 to over $200,000, depending on how many patients or how many assessments I do per month and how I want to utilize my time. I also interviewed with the operational manager of California, and he did give me a rough details of what their job entails and how flexible they can be working with me. So if I was full-time, let's just say the minimum of hours that I will have to work is 30. However, I do have up to 40 hours to work per week. And I don't have to do an 8-hour job 5 days a week. If I wanted to work just 3 days, I can split the 40 hours within those 3 days and they will be able to accommodate me. And that is something that is very reasonable for me and something that I do want, just because I do plan to go back to school and also plan for a family. So now currently I did have a clinical interview with the company as today, and they seem to really like me and possibly give me an offer on Monday. Besides that, they also have a lot of openings, so I was not afraid that I was not going to get the job. Along with that, they do have a lot of benefits. So for example, from financial planning to 401k, they match at 5%. A lot of the equipment are sent to you and provided to you at no cost. If you work a certain amount of hours, they do provide you with a company car. They do provide a lot of technical support as well as family planning, tuition reimbursement, to a lot of things. So I just know that even though I missed out on all the opportunities that was given to me and was let go, and I just know that this job is for me, just because it's very flexible and it has so many great benefits. I know some people probably say that I am expecting too much as a new grad, but no, as a millennial, I've learned that you have to ask for the things that you want at the very beginning, because once you work at a job, it's really hard for you to ask for anything else. And besides that, a lot of the benefits that a lot of companies provide are just bare minimum. For example, this new company, of course, they provide additional or supplemental health insurance as well as life insurance. They provide so many things that I can go on and on about, but it will probably take me another hour or two to really explain. But since I'm still waiting for an offer from that company, I'm going to wait. I will be sure to make another video update just to kind of let you know what I do on my job, just because I know it's nice to have more insight of other company jobs that are out there. I know a lot of you guys may not be nurse practitioners yet, and a lot of you guys have also messaged me about my nursing journey. If you do have any questions, please feel free to message me, as you all have, and just write down any comments and I'll be sure to answer you in the next video update. Thank you for watching and have a great day. Bye!